So in the video today I'd like to talk about this soundbar system from Ultimea, the Poseidon D80 boom version. So this version means that you have this extra bigger subwoofer. It's actually not that extremely big, but they did do a pretty cool thing with the subwoofer, giving it a subwoofer that also does deepness, even though it's only like around 6.5 inches big. This means that the bass performance of this whole system is pretty impressive. And I do now understand how this also has the possibility to have the Dolby Atmos label. It doesn't have any up-firing speakers, but it does use upmix surround sound. And I have to be honest, this mode is a lot better than using the normal surround sound. And it even gives you this like 3D experience from Dolby Atmos if you have Dolby Atmos sound playing on the soundbar. Something else that's pretty cool about this soundbar is that the remote control has a lot of functionalities, but also is still pretty simple. Different kind of EQ settings. I do prefer, of course, the move EQ. It's just more dynamic than the others. But the voice EQ I actually prefer for using on lower volume, because then you have a better vocal boost. And funny thing as well, on the remote you can adjust the surround sound channel levels. You can even adjust the bass levels. Mid-range, treble. I did notice that with the mid-range there isn't a big change if you adjust it, but it does work. I do think it's pretty sad there's no like subwoofer control separately from the bass control. It is kind of happening that if you push the bass on the lower settings that the subwoofer is even disabling itself. But if you use it like even on very low settings, the bass, the subwoofer is really much there already. And if you want to have bass but not necessarily the subwoofer very strong, it's really sad there's no like separate control on the subwoofer itself. Even if you use the Ultimea app where you can even do custom EQ, you can change like the frequency responses in every like low range, mid range and high range, but you still have no like separate subwoofer control. So keep that in mind. But I did notice if you use this subwoofer with bass combination on -4, it's a pretty good deep and kicking bass performance in a pretty small apartment of around 30-40 diameter meters. So it's pretty cool. There's only one complaint that I could really give on this soundbar system, and that has to do with the overall layout of the cables. It's a pretty old school RCA inputs, as you can see on the rear from the soundbar. You really have to put like the front surround sound speakers inside the soundbar and the rear surround sound speakers in the subwoofer. It is pretty cool that at least they gave 6-meter cables for the rear channels. So this means you have more like possibility to place them more behind you. And I do think it's at least a smart job they let it pair with the subwoofer and not like with the soundbar. The pairing is actually pretty easy. It does have a pairing button on the like the soundbar, but also the subwoofer with the remote. But honestly, if you all turn it on, even the first time out of the box, it always paired automatically in my case. So Dolby Atmos sounds pretty right. Dolby Surround as well. I do think that if you listen to some stereo stuff, it's not the best solution, because this soundbar, even if you play stereo or mono, it still is giving you this digital surround sound. So this means that it still is like pushing the stereo sound on all 7 channels. It works. It does have one pro side that you don't need loudness, because the vocal is pretty near to you then as well. But I did hope they at least had here like a small button for stereo only sound or only front surround sound. So then you have less issues with it. You can disable like the surround sound speakers like on -6, then they are completely off. But I don't really think this is the solution to do every time if you swap between stereo, surround sound and so on. The app is, I would say, pretty much the same as the remote, but the only 2 extra things are software updates and a bit more control on the custom EQ possibilities. There is just a bit of a sad thing that you can't use the custom EQ with the remote. You need to use the app to get it on, like the custom EQ. And if you switch then to the movie or music, then again you have to use the app to go back to that custom EQ. So it's really annoying, because I really like custom possibilities in your audio settings. But why not give at least a button on a remote control that you can also like enable it without using the app every time? It's a bit of a sad story. And the other thing when we talk about sound quality is that the sound's pretty alright, even for being a soundbar. The subwoofer of course is doing a bit of the low voice sounds. It is not too humbling or too annoying, even if it is placed next to you on your like sitting position. The only thing I would say that can be better is that the clarity side is good, but you can definitely hear that they are mid-range drivers. So this means they do a lot of like treble boosting on their own driver support. I do think that adding a small tweeter on like these channels, just a tiny tweeter, that you get more like higher clarity detail without doing this treble boosting, I think you can get a much better performance on high fidelity with Dolby Atmos especially. But when we take a look closer to the whole system and also the price, I think the price is alright. Of course it can be lower, but you know, when something has been released a little bit while, it will lower eventually anyway. But for like $300, it's not really a bad system. It's really made to be more easy to use in smaller rooms, but also to not be too big and bulky to sit in your viewing areas. And I know a lot of people don't like much cables, so even though they do have this like cable between the channels and between the subwoofer, there is no like cable going from the front to the rear. You can really hide all the cables if you want to. So do I recommend the system? Yes and no. I would say yes if you are like living like me in an apartment with not a lot of space and also can't go much louder with sound because of your neighbors and so on. It's really a great system. If you have a bigger room, especially like a big living room, or you want something that has more like home cinema experience, you can definitely look further to a bit more higher priced systems. It's really all about your living situation. Do you live small? Take this system for sure. If you live big, of course, take a look at bigger speakers, more home system. Hope you guys enjoyed this video about the soundbar. So let's just go now to a few small audio demos I made from the soundbar, a few with some audio testing and also a few with some cinematic audio samples. So let's go to those.
I'm used to